We begin in Chi-Town, in an epic battle between the Big Trubiskis and Dom's newly minted Save the Bees, to see who's the most inept team in the Rage House. Despite getting 0 points out of a banged-up Alshon Jeffrey, Save the Bees still wasn't as shit as Jock, who through 2 weeks still hasn't gotten production out of anyone not named Dalvin Cook. As the big T's go down 89 to 102, we have to ask the hard question: is Jock the reason Cam Newton is broken? Whoop, whoop, whoop. Ding, ding, ding. Next, we head to the ring, where Los Ingobernables hope to put the slam down on Sam Hankey. Hankey's not even sure how he got there, but he trusted the process and came away with a big win, despite another nothing burger from O.J. Howard. It might be time for Felipe to take off La Mascara and walk away, because his team is El Terrible. Hinky 116, Luchadors 99. Next, we head to smoggy Shenzhen, where the Huawei Integrity squared off against the Yang Chang Gang. Huawei's kicker and defense put up a paltry combined 3 points. But that didn't stop Integrity from suspiciously breezing past the Chang Gang, whose entire team only managed 70 points on the week. Allegation of Huawei using its 5G technology to brainwash Zach's team aside, Integrity got all the honor this week, 112 to 70. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Next, we're shipping up to Boston, where Saquon said, try not to get covered in ickies, stickies, so wicky. Tragically, for Bowden just learned the ancient Japanese art of dolphin hunting on her travels abroad, and proceeded to massacre 37 points worth of dolphins in a horrifying display. Drew Brees was so mortified by the display that he's going to need at least half the season to recover. Covered in sticky, Saquon 93, Swiggies 114. Finally, we go downtown for America's Game of the Week. Cream Dogs versus Bison in Paradise. The battle between these two behemoths raged all day Sunday, until no one knew who was creamier, the Dogs or the Bison. It all came down to a final showdown Monday night, where Odell Beckham Jr. showed what a Cream Dog's made of, by squirting his way 89 yards for the game-winning score. Not even Trown could handle that much cream. Dogs 116, Bison 112. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Right, guys, I hope you all enjoyed that. My week 2 summary of the week. This week I'm going to try something a little bit different. As you can see, I'm trying to do a screen record this week for the rest of the episode, so you don't have to stare at my ugly mug the whole time. And we'll dive into this thing a little bit and see how everyone's doing, see my thoughts on the league, and see how things are going to look moving forward. Obviously, a lot of changes in the NFL this week. Lots of starting quarterbacks going down. Lots of people saying that it seems like the end of an era. No more Roethlisberger. Who knows if he ever comes back. Breeze is down for part of the season. We lost a few other guys as well. Some more important than others. 2 guys getting replaced in Josh Rosen taking over in Miami, and up in Giants land, finally Eli is getting benched. So a lot going on, a lot of fantasy impact with all these moves. Let's get into it a little bit and let's see how people are doing. So first, as you can see here, we've got our overall standings for the league. Cream Dogs and Sam Hinkie are on top, our only 2-0 teams. Both have looked really good. And for once, guys, I'm happy to say that the 2 top teams in the league through 2 weeks are the 2 highest scoring teams in the league. So it's not like one team sucked but still ended up 2-0. The 2 best teams so far are 2-0. The 3rd best team, Bison in Paradise, is in 3rd where he's supposed to be. And not only that, but he only lost narrowly to Cream Dogs, so he's right up there also in the top squads. Then we got Saquon Set Hut at 1-1, myself, then the Sticky Sawickies and Yang Chang Gang and Save the Bees, all of those at 1-1. With honestly, like through 2 weeks, not that big of a disparity between third. Well, Trown is significantly above everyone else, but between Saquon Set Hut and Save the Bees, I mean, the point difference is pretty negligible. It's like Let's see. Yeah, it's 119 to 199, so it's 20-point difference. 10 points per week. It's not so much difference between the top end of the 1-and-1s and the bottom end of the 1-and-1s. Besides Troun, who again lost a narrow one to Cream Dogs. Finally, down here we've got Los Ingobernables and the Big Trubisky at 0-2. Jock clearly deserves to be there. His team's way worse than everyone else, only 174 points through 2 weeks. His team is actually on paper not like that terrible, but he still sucks. And Los Ingobernables, who should honestly be 1-1, but has had a couple tough games and bad losses. All right, so let's go through the matchups. I'm not going to go through the matchups that much more from last week, except for to talk about how they're going to impact this week with what's going on each person's team. I'm just going to go through the teams really fast and then maybe make one comment on each team, and then I'm going to look up the matchups for this week. So I'll start from the bottom. Let's go back to the Big Trubisky's. I actually think Jock's team isn't that bad. Obviously, Dalvin Cook has been a monster so far this year. Leonard Fournette sucks. It's nice to see that he's finally given up on Joe Mixon because that team's not running the ball. Cincinnati's pretty much only throwing. So Joe Mixon's going to continue to be trash. So he benched him. Peyton Barber's been a surprise, and if Jock had just started Peyton Barber this last week, he actually might have won. But we'll see. Cam obviously getting the benching with Rodgers coming back, but I'm not so convinced that Rodgers is the solution either. Look, he's got 12 and 14 points through 2 weeks. He's going up against a really tough Denver defense. I don't like this matchup moving forward, and it's not like he's got easy defenses coming up after that. He's got to play Philly, who maybe he can get a lot of points against because they have bad secondary, but still, it's not a bad defense. Then he's got Dallas, that's a good defense. Then he's got Detroit, that's a good defense. He's finally got Oklahoma, Kansas City, and then he's got the Chargers, a good defense. He's got a lot of good defenses he's got to face here. Rodgers hasn't put up the kind of fantasy points that we've seen him put up in the past. So Jock, I think his biggest problem is honestly quarterback going forward. His wide receivers will get better. Last week was just a fluke. He's got good wide receivers. There's no reason to believe that they'll all get less than 10 points again. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins was an aberration. Mike Williams is meh, but he'll get his points because that they know how to move the ball. Jock did get screwed a little bit with the Darius Grice injury, but he's sort of seen that coming because it seems like that guy's always injured. And besides that, he just needs a stronger bench. Like, he's got some weird guys here. Honestly, he maybe should just be starting Mark Andrews because he's been huge, but then again, he is injured. I'm not sure how you could make an argument for this team doing amazingly moving forward, but it's got pieces. So maybe if Jock makes a couple of trades, gets a better quarterback in there, he'll have a chance. Sorry, didn't mean to talk so long about Jock's shitty team. Let's look at Los Ingobernables. Again, a team that's better than its record shows. Pat Mahomes obviously has been huge. That is a good, with Dak Prescott on the bench, though, Felipe definitely needs to make a trade here. He's wasting potential. He's got two, top 5 fantasy quarterbacks in Prescott and Mahomes. He's got to trade one of those to get some more pieces, especially, I would say, at the wide receiver position where he's looking a little bit thin, especially with Michael Thomas. We don't know what kind of points Michael Thomas is going to put up. He should hopefully put up okay points, but missing, Drew Brees for potentially 8 weeks here could be pretty tough for Michael Thomas. He also has John Ross, who's actually been really good through 2 weeks, so maybe he doesn't need receiver help. Maybe it's really more running back help now that I look at it that he needs. Shady's been questionable. Shady's been so-so. Duke Johnson hasn't done anything in that offense. Obviously, Melvin Gordon is still out. So he's got Gurley, but Gurley's getting very limited touches. He's going to continue to be like a 10 to 12 points per week guy. He's not going to go for 30 points anytime soon. Maybe in 1 or 2 games. Actually, he's got a decent chance because Cleveland's run D is atrocious this week. But it's clear that they're only limiting him to 12 to 15 touches a game. So whatever you get out of those touches, that's what you're going to get. I think he'll be efficient, but he's not going to get that many touches because he's still kind of banged up. Which means, Felipe, second running back is Matt Breida. That's a problem. So Felipe, I would say definitely try to trade Pat Mahomes for another running back, and then you can move your receivers around. You really need a running back. Yeah, that's about all for that. Let's move back to the league. Look at Save the Bees. Save the Bees is, let's see. I mean, he'll be okay. He's still got poop quarterback problems. That's always the problem with Dom's team. He's got bad quarterbacks. Um, Chris Godwin's been great. Brandon Cooks has been fine. Cooper Kupp has been really good so far, but he's got two Rams wide receivers here. So I don't know if they might both suck, or maybe only one gets the receiving yards any given week. We'll see. I would maybe try to diversify that a little bit. Hopefully, Alshon coming back will help that. And he's got Miles Sanders here, who could put up points moving forward, but for right now, they're not giving him the ball enough. And Philly's running offense is really bad compared to what people expected it to be. So that's problematic. Travis Kelce also, been solid, but I kind of expected more from him through 2 weeks, given how good that offense is. We'll see, though, what he ends up doing. Again, this is a team that's got running back problems, right? You've got James White's not going to do it for you as an RB2. He's not an RB2. And James Conner has not done anything to show he's an RB1 yet. So running back is definitely the main concern for this offense. Damian Williams has not really gotten the ball enough. This team definitely needs a running back and a new quarterback, obviously, because Dom's team always has bad QBs. Moving on to Yang Chain Gang. Yang Chain Gang, he had a bust week last week, a really, really bad week. The team's obviously not as bad as all that, but Alvin Kamara is going to suffer without Drew Brees. Marlon Mack is going to be like boom or bust any given week, depending on how Indianapolis is playing their game. And again, this is another team that, he's got Philip Lindsay on his bench. Philip Lindsay hasn't done that much, actually. Well, I think Philip Lindsay will pull his act together moving forward. Obviously, losing Tyreek Hill hurts a lot. Kareem Hunt coming back could do something for him, maybe. But overall, this team is a little bit short on pieces. His wide receivers, all three of them are huge boom or bust guys in a given week, which is how you end up with a situation where you end up with 70 points or 140 points in any given week. Yang should probably try to move his team around to be a little more consistent. All right. Next, we've got the Icky Sticky Sawickies. The Sawickies, this is a team that sort of got off to a good start or got off to a slow start and then had a decent week last week. But her decent week last week was really on the back of the Patriots. Now I want to say that Miami's not, the Patriots D aren't going to put up 37 points again. Yeah, but they could put up 27 points still against the Jets' pathetic offense, who have like a third string nobody quarterback. So this isn't necessarily completely unrealistic for what they could potentially do against the Jets next week. 37 points might be a little high, but I wouldn't be surprised if they ran back 2 touchdowns again against the Jets. In which case, it's hard to see Jets doing poorly, at least in the short term. That being said, the rest of her team has got some problems. Baker Mayfield has sucked so far. Juju Smith-Schuster's in trouble without Roethlisberger out there. David Johnson Jr. has been inconsistent as an RB1 option. Actually had a good week 1, but didn't show up the way you would hope against a media. I guess the Baltimore defense is fine this year, but they're not as good at run D as they were in previous years. So I would have expected more out of David Johnson in that game. We'll see how he recovers against Carolina. Sammy Watkins obviously has been solid so far. Amazing week 1, but I doubt he'll do that every week, but he'll still be good going forward. Stephon Diggs has been not that great. We need to see more out of just his players to see how things shake out. I think she's got decent lineup, but it's not enough to get into the playoffs at this stage, especially with her reliance on New England D. Next, we're up to my team, Daggerty. Integrity, Integrity's doing all right. I've got solid running backs in Le'Veon Bell and Aaron Jones. And I've got Devin Singletary, who, has put up some points through 2 weeks. He's been okay. I've got good wide receivers. Tyler Boyd's been solid. Devontae Adams, had a bad week against the Bears D, but it's the Bears D. Played well against Minnesota. Calvin Ridley's been a beast. Marquise Brown is good. And I've got wide receivers. I've got 4 solid wide receivers. I think Marquez Valdez-Scantling can put up some points later in the season. Where I'm struggling a little bit is running back with my third running back, but Devin Singletary's been okay. He's just injured right now. Evan Ingram's been fine through 2 weeks. And Matt Ryan, Matt Ryan's the kind of guy he's Mr. 20 points. He's going to get me 20 points when he sucks with some garbage time bullshit, and he's going to get me 20 points when he's amazing. That's just who Matt Ryan is, and I will take it. I switched out my kicker for Eddie Pinheiro after his heroics last week. It felt weird, not having a single active Bear on my team, so it feels good now to have a Bear on the team, even though he might suck moving forward. And then finally, I got Dallas, who hasn't been great so far, but they get to play Miami this week, so I'm not exactly gonna dump them now. So hopefully, with a good performance and a trash performance by Miami again, I can roll this week. Let's go back to the league. Next, we got Saquon Say It Hut. Saquon, he's got Saquon, who I think will be fine, actually, despite all the shittiness in. Actually, he will only benefit, honestly, by the quarterback turnover there, because you can't really get any worse than Eli. So, I mean, you can, but I don't think much worse than Eli, at least in terms of production for Saquon. So, I think he'll be okay. Jimmy G, I don't really trust going forward, but he had to do something with Drew Brees out, so respect for that. I guess better than nothing. But then again, yeah, Jimmy G's the kind of guy who might get 10 points or he might get 20 points, but he's not going to get like 50 points or 30 even for that matter. So that's problematic. Mike Evans has sucked so far, which is really troubling. But Amari Cooper's been solid, I think. Yeah. John Brown's been solid. Sony Michelle, has he done anything? He's been okay. Eckler's been a beast, obviously, and Barkley. So again, this is a classic Bowden team with stacked running backs. Bowden loves his stacked running back team. Barkley and Eckler look to be an amazing 1-2 combo, at least as long as the other, as long as Melvin Gordon is out, Eckler will continue to perform. Sony Michel is a solid RB3. So this team is rolling for it now. Moving on. Extra up in the quote unquote good teams. So this is Trown's quote unquote good team. T.Y. Hilton's been amazing so far. Tom Brady's been great against bad defenses. He'll continue to be good. Allen Robinson has been meh, okay. DJ Moore is meh. Nick Chubb is okay. And Derrick Henry's been good. Yeah, Derrick Henry's been fantastic so far. And then on the bench, he's got Latavius Murray, who hasn't done much. He's okay at running back, but he's only got 2. He's got one really good running back in Derrick Henry, who I think will continue to perform throughout the season. Like he's that O-line is good, and he's finding holes. I don't know what his funk was last year, but I'm glad he's gotten his shit figured out. Nick Chubb is a mess, he's fine, but I think that Cleveland Browns offense is a mess. So we'll see how he performs going forward. This team again has the potential to be good. Like they're very good, like solid performers week in and week out. Really no huge glaring weaknesses, but nobody really explosive on this team either. I don't trust anybody on this team to like blow up for 30 points for me on any given week. So usually you want like half your team to be made up of guys that are week in week out solid 10-point performer type guys, and the other half of the team you want to play some riskier guys. It seems like a lot of our teams are imbalanced one way or the other there. Here is the Hinkies. The Hinkies are a good team. It's hard to argue with that. He's got Antonio Brown, who's going to be filthy going forward. Adam Thielen, who gets his yards every week. Julio, who's boom or bust, but he'll be fine. And then Zeke is not going anywhere anytime soon. Chris Carson has been okay, but he'll be okay all season. He's going to be He's going to continue to do exactly what he's done here. He's going to get 15 plus 1 week and then less than 10 the next week. That's just who Chris Carson is, and that's how Seattle runs its offense. They either only pass or only run. I don't know why. That just seems to be how they play. Then they've got Emmanuel Sanders, who's been good so far. I mean, this is Gilden's team. Gilden's team is by far the best wide receivers, I think, in the league. Julio, Thielen, Brown, Emmanuel Sanders, and he's got Deshaun Jackson on his bench. Even with Deshaun Jackson injured right now, that is a stacked wide receiver lineup. That's 4 superstar wide receivers. This team looks like it's set up for long-term playoff type success. The only thing I would say is maybe try to trade one of your wide receivers to upgrade at the running back position. I don't think that Lamar Jackson, or most importantly, tight end, who has gotten 0 production for you so far, I would definitely try to trade for a tight end. Trade away one of these talented receivers because they'll still be stacked at wide receiver even after trading one of them away. And you will have better production at the tight end position where O.J. Howard hasn't done shit. And obviously Lamar Jackson's going to slow down here. There's no way he's going to keep up this pace. He's played 2 bad teams so far, but he's still going to be good going forward. I think he's going to have a huge game against Kansas City and against Cleveland and against Pittsburgh and against Cincy. Maybe not against Seattle, but still that's like 4 bad defenses in a row that he's going to play. I mean, Cleveland defense isn't that bad, but they're bad against the run, and Lamar Jackson can run. So it's going to be a struggle for teams trying to stop saying Hinkie going forward. I think he might be the best team in the league, despite the fact that Cream Dogs is ahead right now. Cream Dogs actually had a meh week. Actually, everybody last week had a bad week, actually. The top scorer was 116 points, which is really low for like a top scorer situation, which I thought was interesting. I think part of it was all the injuries. Part of it was like weird formations, weird matchups, a lot of low-scoring games. Actually, it was kind of a weird week for football. But every week is a weird week for football, so no surprises there. Lastly, we got the Cream Dogs. The Cream Dogs are pretty creamy. Oh, look at that creamy dog. Creamy dog. Let's see here. I mean, Max also has fantastic wide receivers. I mean, that's 3 top-level wide receivers. He's got almost has. I mean, he just doesn't have the depth of Gilden. He doesn't have any receivers that I really trust after that. Like, yes, Deebo Samuel had a good week last week, but he's not going to do that every week. So he's got 3 really good receivers. He's got Christian, but then he also has 2 really good running backs in the form of Christian McCaffrey and Mark Ingram. He also has Josh Jacobs. He's benching him this week because he's worried about the injury, but Josh Jacobs is going to be good going forward. I mean, the biggest bust on the team is like Tariq Cohen, but he doesn't have to play. So Max has great running backs, great wide receivers. I don't really trust Russell Wilson every week going forward, but that's not a huge problem for his team. Will Dissly is not also like he's the ultimate boomer bust guy, and he's going to get injured week 4. So we'll see how it goes. Oh, he's also got Chicago defense. That will help him moving forward. So Max's team is pretty stacked, actually. Great wide receivers, solid running backs. Hard to find any real weaknesses there as well. So the team is, the league is shaken up pretty well. A lot of mediocre teams, a couple great teams. Only Jock's team is really out of it already. Even though Jock's team is not that bad, like I said, it could turn around, but I'm not overly optimistic about that. Let's look at the matchups this week. We got Integrity versus Save the Bees. I mean, it's going to be a close battle. I think I've got a slight edge this week because he's starting 2 tight ends, which is always suspicious. But I'm not like overly optimistic about my team. We'll see. I'm going to give myself the victory in that one. Also, someone should like record my predictions and then call me out if I'm really off on who I think is going to win. So I'm going to choose myself, and then I've got Saquon Hut versus Yang Chang Yang. I'm going to give that one, I think, it's tough. Yeah, I think I'm going to give this one to Saquon Hut. I think that Mike Evans is going to put up points finally. I think Saquon Barkley is going to be just fine. And I think that the rest of this team is going to have a good week. Starting Houston defense against the Chargers is pretty risky, though. So that could end up biting him in the butt. But besides that, I like Saquon Hut in this one. Next, we got Cream Dogs versus the Big Trubisky. I don't even need, that's like top dogs versus bottom dogs, which means Max will probably lose. That's just how the way that fantasy football works. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Jock's team really is that bad, but yeah, I'm gonna go with the Big Trubisky's in this one. I think Jock's gonna upset Max here. That's my prediction. Then we got Sam Hinkies versus Bison Paradise. This is America's game of the week, mostly because Trown's playing in it. Trown always gets the game of the week. I think I like Sam Hinkie in this one. I think Ezekiel Elliott is going to put up a disgusting number of points against Miami, and that's all you really need to know. Also, Lamar Jackson's also going to put up a disgusting number of points against Kansas City. Combine those two things, and you've got a disgusting performance in terms of how many points you're going to score in a good way. So I give it to Sam Hinkies. Finally, we've got Felipe's team against Jess's team. I think Felipe's team is going to pull out and get his first win of the season behind a big, huge performance again by Pat Mahomes. Improved performances by Todd Gurley and rebounding by the wide receivers after some poor performances. I think Jess's team's really, Smith-Schuster is going to suffer. Mayfield's going to look like trash against the Rams, and Jess's team is not going to do enough, even though New England's defense will score a ton of points. And